Let's dive in. So welcome everyone to this week's proposal review call. A few quick zip or protocol upgrade updates for you today, and also a note on the token unlock that is actually today. Also an update on the Test-TPP that was up on Tally the last week or so for the Guardian Veto Rehearsal. And then we also have, or Rafa has some fun updates on the rate limiter contract and development of a token return function as well. So we can dive right in. The first update is the ZK token unlock. So this post or reminder post was shared last week from the ZK Nation account. The information in this tweet that was shared has been actually in the docs as docs at zknation.io. So it's also you're also able to find that information there. But given the token unlock was today, we wanted just to share a reminder of that it was coming and what it kind of means. So when the ZK token launched in 2024, team members and investors of Matter Labs received a total of the 33.3% of the total token supply. So you can see that here on the token page, the ZK token page and in the docs. And these tokens were meant to be distributed to team members and investors over a four-year vesting period with a one-year cliff, that cliff being the token unlock or starting to unlock today, June 18th. And I just wanted to mention this here because there's been a few questions from a few different folks across the ecosystem, and I wanted to make sure that we gave you folks an opportunity to ask questions if you had any in relation to the token unlock. But otherwise you can find all the information or relevant information in this tweet that I also just shared in the chat as well. Any questions from you folks on this? Okay, great. Then we will move on to the next bit of our agenda, which are ZIP 10 and 11 updates. And I will pass that over to Alicia. Maybe. Oh, Alicia. Oh, she left the call. Okay. Well, I can start. I can take them then just kick us off. So ZIP 10 was executed on L1 a few days ago. So that's really exciting. That's really exciting news because that now means that ZK Sync Gateway is live. This post was shared in the Security Council. The Security Council always posts an update when ZIP is executed on L1 with the Etherscan link, and they also included this link in that post too, because it's kind of a nice announcement outlining the launch of Gateway. So yeah, that's what comes next now is I think there's some additional announcements being planned, but there's some information in this thread here as well. But it was exciting to see that upgrade finally go live. It's kind of our first step to implementing interop on ZK Sync. The other update is in regards to ZIP 11. This is still under risk review at the Security Council. This is the V28 upgrade. And this will be, I believe, executed on L1 by the end of the week, I believe was the latest word on the street for that. The ZIP 11, again, with the V28 upgrade, the kind of key thing that this will enable is the improving performance, but also cost efficiency. This like really crazy number that they shared here is like the gas cost to verify typical ZK snark will reduce by 94%. so that's really exciting. And once that is formally executed on L1, we'll be sure to share our regular announcements like we usually do there. Any questions on either zip 10 or 11 execution? L1 execution? Okay, great. And then I'll also just share this in the chat as well. Great. Okay, then we can move on to the Test-TPP Guardian Veto Rehearsal. Rafa, if you want to take that away.
Yeah, so I think if you refresh the page, it should show as canceled, maybe. Let's take a look. Oh, it says quorum not reached. That's a bug, but you see it there. It says canceled. So the veto rehearsal was successfully complete. We reached quorum with the Guardians on day 8 out of 14 without any urgent action or kind of like hounding people to participate in the veto. So it has been a success. There are some areas of improvement, especially regarding kind of like the internal user interface and making sure that we have the right communication channels for the Guardians. And one of the Guardians in particular had an issue kind of with their own like laptop or something that we're checking in on, but everything went fine. So I think with regards to that, we're going to be doing a retro. We'll add a public post with regards to the rehearsal as a reply to the proposal, and we can probably move this to kind of like archived, I guess, in the forum, and we're good to go. If you have any questions regarding the veto process, I'd encourage you to take a look at the docs. There's kind of like a bunch of different items there, a bunch of different information, but also feel free to send us a note if you have any questions. But overall, this was in production, so it means that everything is working as expected. So good.
Great. Thank you, Rafa. Any questions for Rafa or for the Test-TPP? This was kind of like the first of its kind, this kind of rehearsal version of a TPP. So just want to make sure there's no questions. Great. And I just shared in the chat, by the way, the link to Schedule 4. It's the ZK Sync Guardians section on the docs page that talks through their powers and the process for a veto, both for on-chain for TPPs and gaps, and then also the legal off-chain veto process for zips. You can read more information there. Great. Okay, then we can keep moving along here if my computer doesn't freeze. Yeah, so next up, actually, we have some exciting updates to share with you in regards to some Mintermod development, and also in regards to a token return function on the ZK token contract. You may remember this Mintermod post that Rafa shared on the forum a few weeks ago, or have heard us talk about it in other calls in the past. But we've made some headway on the rate limiter mod that's mentioned in this post. And yeah, Rafa, you had some updates you wanted to share there.
Yeah, so it all started last year when we were talking about cap minters, and then as we kind of like have like co-creating different potential like token programs, and a lot of the feedback from Ignite, we've kind of extended that framework into like what we call minter modifiers or minter mods, and these kind of daisy chain together. The first modifier that we've created, and this is an iterative process, but ideally we kind of like emerge from this with a set of standards, so any third-party developer can actually create like a minter modifier in the same way that people can create kind of like Uniswap hooks. And this creates kind of like a bit of an elastic governance system for the token, where you can hook on different types of utility depending on different actions. This will obviously, it starts simple, right? There's simple building blocks that get like combined together. The first one that has been created, the audit has just been complete as of hot off the press, I think today, is the rate limiter. So what this does is it hooks on to a cap minter, or you kind of chain it together. And it means that you can add a restriction for how many tokens per day, per week, per month, per year a certain cap minter can have. This is great. It's a good innovation, and the extent this model is extensible, so it's not like we don't have one monolithic model, which is like one cap minter with all of these settings. Instead, we have kind of like contracts that kind of hook together, which means we can create kind of like a few kits with regards to this. So here is an example of like we have a cap minter and then we connect a rate limiter to it. So stay tuned with regards to that. We should be posting on the forum, and that means that future token programs may have rate limiters or other types of modifiers. But for right now, we've just completed the rate limiter. It will take a little bit of time as we build out the other kind of like different types of Legos. If you're familiar with Legos or Connects or other types of blocks, you have different types of blocks, and this is kind of the same way. It takes a little bit of time to develop the right plastic mold for each one of the little pieces and make sure the mold works correctly. So there'll be a factory for the rate limiter mod in the same way that we have a factory for the cap minter. So that's with regards to that. Now, we also talked about token return. So what we're kind of showing here, so let me, at the very basic level, ZK-nomics or ZK tokenomics extends a little bit beyond like what you do with the cap minter, but it's also upstream, like how the token contract is specifically used. And originally we were going to create kind of this like separate contract where people could like burn tokens publicly. But after internal review and guidance from the Scopelif team doing kind of like an engineering assessment, it actually felt simpler and more effective to simply add a public burn function into the token contract itself. So we're going to be upgrading the token contract, which is an upgradable proxy contract, to have this new public burn function. What this means is that anybody, could be myself, I can go with my wallet and I can say, hey, burn 10 ZK from my wallet. But most importantly, you can imagine a situation in the future where, let's say, ZK Sync Gateway, where which we just spoke about, ZIP10, which charges gas fees in ZK, actually burns tokens upon the execution of that fee. Now, burning is a little bit different in ZK Sync because burning just doesn't like remove it, but it unmints the tokens. So it goes back to the token assembly control, which now you can deploy that as a new token program. So this kind of closes the loop. You deploy a token program, which drives growth in the ecosystem, that the ZK chains have transactions which settle on gateway, paying with ZK. That ZK gets burned and goes back to the token assembly for another cap minter in the future. Now, that's not the only piece of kind of like tokenomics for ZK Vision. The decentralized sequencer is also underway. And so part of the gateway fees are going to be returned to the token assembly via the burn mechanism, and part of the fees will go to staking rewards. That's also under development, so stay tuned for that. And the token assembly will have control over the parameters of both the size of the fee, similar to Uniswap, and then the split of the fee between like stakers who are keeping the system alive via the validation and the proving process, and then the return to the token assembly. So that's like a little bit of alpha for this call. There will be a forum post with regards to this vision that Omar from Matter Labs has been working on to kind of review it. But I just want to say, what can you expect? So over the next like 3 to 6 months, we're going to have a series of different protocol upgrades. One which activate a public burn function in the token. Second, that activate decentralized sequencing. Another that maybe activates a staking interface, likely via Tally. And so all these kind of like proposals will come through, and then hopefully we'll then have to decide like turning on the fee and activating this flywheel of value distribution. I'll pause there because I know that was a lot of new information that folks may not be aware of. No questions? Did I explain it perfectly? Or no one was paying attention?
Yeah, I think it's thanks for going over that, Rafa. I think we've talked about all of these pieces separately, or maybe just kind of in a siloed way in calls in the past, but it's nice to have them kind of piece together into a more cohesive kind of vision or path forward, or what that will actually mean, especially in regards to token utility for ZK. So yeah, it's
very exciting stuff.
Yeah, and we'll be sure to share this kind of tokenomics post that apparently will be coming sooner. I think within the next few days. We'll share that in the delegate announcements Telegram channel, so you guys can see that, and we'll include it in the call notes too if it comes within the next day or two. So you guys can find that easily. If there are no questions, we can also move on. I guess the one like last note that Ralph and I wanted to share, it's not formally on the agenda here, but just kind of thinking about or reminding ourselves of like what phase in governance we're in right now. So if you were at the delegate meetup in December, we talked actually about this. I think I actually have it up here. Yeah. We talked about this in December of kind of like what phase in governance we're in. So the governance launched in September of last year. So we're still within the first year of ZK Sync governance. The first few months of the first kind of phase of governance was validation, making sure that the system as it was set up works as it was expected and meant to. And in the era we're in right now is this era that we're kind of calling sustainable momentum. And just to kind of highlight or touch on again, like what that actually means, or like what's included in that. And some of the things that we mentioned in Denver and are still going to be a priority are ensuring governance bodies as like the Security Council, Guardians, governance infrastructure that's managed by the association are equipped to support governance for the years to come. Strengthen protocol upgrade coordination processes, including necessary tooling, call data generation, verification, etc. This is still a priority across the board, just generally strengthening protocol development, the implementation of ZARP, the audit reimbursement program, also is helping contribute to that as well, making that process more sustainable over time. And also creating deep and reliable alignment between the token assembly, Matter Labs, and the foundation. The governance team has tried very hard, and we will continue to try to find ways to bring on folks from either Matter Labs or the ZK Think Foundation to these calls or on the forum to make sure that the communication is clear and open between these different organizations and entities, just because there's a lot going on and it's easy to kind of lose things or miss things in different channels or on different mediums. So we want to continue to try to make sure that folks feel connected. So delegates, especially Token Assembly, feels connected to these other kind of key players or stakeholders within the ZK Sync ecosystem, just to make sure that governance also feels more cohesive as well. Always open to recommendations or requests for ways to improve on that. But I just wanted to kind of highlight or re-highlight again, like that phase that we're still in at the moment right now. Rafa, was there anything you wanted to add to that at all?
I think that in general, there's a big request, I guess, from our side on like, and by request I mean like it's let me turn on my camera. There's a big like requirement from our side, like goal for this year, to really think about what we need to feel comfortable with like a 2-year vision. And like, so if you think about like how governance evolves, like the first goal was to design it, the second was to launch it, the third one was to make sure that it's working. Like the recent Guardian Veto Rehearsal, that's like, we're just making sure that everything is like working. It's a big system and it has a lot of different services. And I think we feel like very confident that the infrastructure is working as intended. It doesn't mean we don't have room for improvement. Definitely a lot of different pieces. But I think the next phase, yeah, it's thinking about what will it take for us to be able to run everything smoothly for the next 2 years at a good rhythm, at a good momentum. This is a marathon, when you're building a governance system, like for a protocol that you want to last like 50 or 100 years, obviously, it takes a little bit of time for each of these different phases. But if we get everything ready for the next 2 years, then the next piece is getting it for 5 years, and then 10 years, and then 20 years after that, right? So, it's progressively like extending that time horizon of planning and execution. So yeah, just in general, good. I think we're making progress towards that, but we're definitely, yeah, hopefully by the end of this year, we'll feel comfortable with that view.
Great. Any comments, questions, concerns, requests, grievances? If you don't want to share them also on this call, feel free to reach out to Rafa and I independently. Yeah. Totally get out wanting to pour your heart out on a recorded call that's posted on YouTube as well. Okay, great. Then actually the last comment I want to say before closing this call out is just thank you to the delegates who came to the casual little ZK Sync governance coffee chat that Rafa and I hosted in Berlin this last Friday. It was great. It was really chill, and it was just nice to sit outside at a cute cafe in Berlin and get to chat and meet some folks and get to know folks a little bit better. We even had AG show up, which was really cool. So yeah, it was fun chance for delegates also to chat all together with him and Rafa and I. So thanks to those who came out to that. In regards to upcoming events, Cannes, we will not be in Cannes, unfortunately, so we won't be doing any, or the governance team will not be in Cannes. I believe there's some ZK Sync events happening possibly, but Rafa and I, or Alicia, I believe, will maybe be in Cannes, but Rafa and I will not be in Cannes. Governance team will not be hosting any ZK Sync delegate events, etc. But we will most likely / definitely plan something around DevConnect later this year in Buenos Aires. So stay tuned for that. We have a lot of time between now and then, but just wanted to give a heads up for those who are wondering or asking, because yeah, I know that's Cannes is, I guess, the next big thing in ECC. So yeah, just wanted to add that note before we close it out. And that's all we had for you guys today. So thank you so much for joining, and we will have the recording and notes posted by tomorrow. And yeah, we will see you folks online.